Welcome back to the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog, where we discuss, celebrate, and honor all things college football with a special emphasis on the black and gold squads of the Missouri Tigers and the Iowa Hawkeyes. Welcome to my Week 13 preview show. You heard right, it is rivalry week. A pivotal Week 13, which also is the last week of the regular season. So excited, so pumped up. There is so much on the line for many teams to be playing for, but also in the same sentence, it's very bittersweet knowing that we wait 9 months for the sport that we love, we crave, that we are addicts for, and it basically is coming to an end. Unless your team is lucky enough to be playing a 13th game, or maybe more, depending on where they are in the current playoff rankings. I'm your host, Blair Parks. Thank you again for being back. As always, I appreciate. Thank you for your support, your time. Please, I always appreciate and ask for any shares, likes, subscriptions, any comments. Let me know how I'm doing. Let's get the word out there to every black and gold fan near and far and everywhere in between, but also all college football fans. Everyone is welcome here. I have an open door policy. Let's celebrate and let's give thanks for what we have, this great sport in this nation. And speaking of giving thanks, tomorrow is Turkey Day. Happy early Thanksgiving to you and yours. Safe travels and enjoy everything the holiday has to provide us. But huge week in Week 13. As normal, I have a few segments to bring to your attention, some key matchups, but also today, also going to get you in the know to let you know what teams still need that one victory to get to that coveted 6th win, to get to a bowl game, become bowl eligible. Also going to let you know about the conference. There's some division and conference title games that are happening this week that will determine who wins this division or a conference to play on in the conference title games. Also want to give you an update on the playoff rankings that were unleashed last evening. Big time news there for the top 10 in the playoff race. Then want to give you a little bit of analysis and commentary, my initial thoughts on the black and golds who are both in action this week, actually both on Black Friday. Iowa travels to Lincoln, Nebraska. Big game. They are one of the teams that are in a division race. It's going to come down to the last game, last week of the season, as it should be. And the Missouri Tigers are on the road at Arkansas, both on Black Friday. So I'll let you know what I see the keys to victory are for each of our beloved black and gold squads. And then, everyone's favorite segment, it's time to play Week 13 Pick'em here shortly. Tune in for that. The ongoing battle for bragging rights continues between me and my former co-host, Missouri fan number one, the living, breathing, walking human Adonis, Charlie. And today is the inaugural Black and Gold Vlog Guest Picker Tournament Final. These two individuals have survived. Today we have Brett versus Brad to bring home the hardware for the guest picker, best guest picker of the season on the Black and Gold Vlog. So big time stakes happening this week in Pick'em. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right into it, shall we? And before I go any further, congratulations. Last night we had some action on the gridiron. Maction was going on, the Mac on full display. And Ball State, they beat Buffalo last night. That gives them their 6th win. With that, they become bowl eligible. Well done, Ball State. Buffalo, better luck next season was not the way that they wanted to go down there in Buffalo. So well done, Ball State. But yeah, I mean, so much is hindering on this pivotal Week 13. There's so much to talk about. let me start off with the teams that are seeking their 6th win, and they've got one more shot to get to that hump. We have in the ACC, we have Florida State, Syracuse, and Virginia Tech all needing that one victory. In the Big Ten, Maryland and Rutgers are sitting there on their 5th win. One more opportunity there as well. In the Big 12, we have TCU and West Virginia. In the SEC, we have two usual blue bloods who are sitting there on 5 wins, Florida and LSU. In the American Athletic, the Memphis Tigers and Tulsa Golden Hurricane are needing that one victory to get to 6. Conference USA, we have several. We have Old Dominion, Middle Tennessee State University, Florida Atlantic, Charlotte, and North Texas. In the Mountain West, we have the San Jose State Spartans and the Hawaii Warriors team. And from the Sun Belt Conference, we have 2. We have Troy and the South Alabama Jaguars. So those are the teams that still need and still hope to get bowl eligible when Week 13 ends. And the nice thing about this, of those teams I just mentioned, we actually have 3 matchups of 5 and 6 teams playing to get to that 6th win. In the kind of a crossover game for interstate in the Sunshine State, where things have not been very sunny as of late, Florida State travels to Florida. To the winner goes bowl eligibility. In the Big Ten, Maryland travels to Rutgers. Winner take all in that matchup as well. And in Conference USA, we actually have 2. Charlotte travels to Old Dominion, and Middle Tennessee travels to Florida Atlantic. And the winner of those games comes bowl eligibility. So huge stakes. So much on the line. I mean, it's really hard to describe it, and I love this. I love that so much is coming down to the end, where here we are, we're well down the front stretch, the finish line's in sight, we're beginning our stretch to get across the line first. I love how it's coming down to this. Now, before I go any further, let me share with you my next segment, the updated playoff rankings that came out last night. And there was a good amount of movement. Over the weekend, we had a couple top 10 teams lose in dominant fashion. Oregon and Michigan State both lost big time. So the impossible actually looks like it is going to be possible. And what that is, I will inform you here very shortly. But here's how the top 10 shake out after last night's unveiling. At number 1, no surprise, is Georgia. Number 2, Ohio State moved up a spot to number 2 after their dominant, basically curbside-like pounding of Michigan State. Number 3 is Alabama. Number 4, here it is. Here comes the curtain drum roll. Cincinnati. That's right. A non-Power 5 team, which is the first ever. They are in position right now to make the college football playoff if they just take care of business and win their next 2 games. They are sitting there in the field at the 4th spot. Well done, Cincinnati. It has happened. Woo! Ric Flair style. Number 5 is Michigan. Big matchup in this year's edition of The Game, as they will host number 2, Ohio State. I'll talk about that game here shortly. Stay tuned for that. Number 6 is Notre Dame. I've been saying for weeks now, people, you should learn to trust your boy. Notre Dame is right there in striking distance. They go to the West Coast this week. They take care of Stanford, and we see more chaos happen. If a couple teams ahead of them lose, they will absolutely find themselves in the playoff field. Number 7 is Oklahoma State. Number 8 is Baylor. Number 9 is Ole Miss. And number 10, Oklahoma. So number 7 and 10, the battle for the Sooner State, that takes place this Saturday in the Bedlam rivalry game. Oklahoma travels to Stillwater to take on the Pokes of OK State. Huge implications in the playoff standings will unveil themselves as well at the end of the day on Saturday. I mean, right there, you look at number 2 versus number 5, number 7 versus number 10. I mean, there is so much going on. I'm so excited to watch football this weekend. Granted, I have to basically juggle my time as well as I can. Family will be in town. Definitely want to spend some time with them, with my children, with my wife. But you've got to be able to work it out to get away to watch some football this weekend. I mean, so much on the line. So next thing I want to bring to your attention is these are the teams that are playing for division and conference titles. These are the games that will shape Conference Championship Weekend, which takes place next week. So, and some of these will be usually I have my key matchups. That's usually where I start with my preview episodes. But today, as I name off these games, I will point out that one of these are my key matchups for the week. First one in Conference USA. The Conference USA West Division title is up for grabs Saturday when Western Kentucky and my boy Bailey Zappi, their stud quarterback, he should get a Heisman invite. Bailey Zappi and the boys take it on the road to Marshall. Big time game in the Conference USA West Division. The winner, they advance to the Conference USA title game. So hopefully Bailey Zappi doesn't let me down. This is one of my key matchups. It will be one of the games that we picked. Stay tuned to see how we see this game playing out. In the MAC East Division is up for grabs as Miami of Ohio travels to the Kent State Flashes. They're both sitting there at 6-5, same record in conference play. To the winner goes the crown of the MAC East to advance and play the Northern Illinois Huskies, who clinched the MAC West last week. Big time game there at Kent State. Another one of my key matchups. We'll see how we see this game playing out on the gridiron. Now in the Mountain West, and there is a lot to play for in both divisions of the Mountain West. First, in the Mountain West Mountain Division, I love saying that, the Mountain West Mountain. UNLV travels to Air Force. Boise State travels to number 21 San Diego State, and Utah State travels to New Mexico. Right now, all three of those teams in that division, being Air Force, Boise State, Utah State, are all tied at a 5-2 conference record. And the thing is about these three, they have all beaten each other. So it's going to come down to point differential, your record within your division. That's what's going to determine the tiebreaker in the Mountain West Division. Huge. So much to play for in the Mountain West. Now in the opposite division, the Mountain West Division, two games that'll shape its division winner. Boise State, as I mentioned, they travel to number 21 San Diego State, and Fresno State travels to San Jose State. Right now, the head-to-head between San Diego State and Fresno State. Head-to-head, Fresno State has that against San Diego State. They beat them straight up, but they trail the Aztecs by one game in the conference standings. So if Boise State can knock off the highly ranked Aztecs and Fresno State takes care of San Jose State, the Spartans, then Fresno State will win the Mountain West Division. Huge. Everything on the line in the Mountain West. I love how it's come down to this for both divisions. Now, in the Pac-12, and specifically the Pac-12 North, another one of my key matchups, we have Oregon State traveling to number 11 Oregon. This game used to be called, now it's basically, I'm going to refer to this rivalry game as the Civil Conflict. Used to be called something else. They haven't officially renamed it yet. Can't wait to see what this new rivalry game will be called officially. But let's call it the Civil Conflict game. This is a huge game because, yes, last week Oregon took it right there on the chin. in the keister as I hit my backside, but they still need to pick themselves up quickly, because if Oregon State, if the Beavers can go there to Eugene and win, they will win the Pac-12 North and advance to play Utah, who clinched the Pac-12 South with their victory over Oregon last week. So big time game there in Eugene. Hopefully they can get up. And this is one of my favorite rivalry games to watch year in and year out. It's really been one-sided as of recently, but last year, Oregon State surprised and shocked the Ducks, but that game was in Corvallis. Can they make it 2 in a row? We'll have to wait and see. Definitely one that we're going to be picking here soon. In the Big 12, we have 2 games that will determine who advances to the Big 12 title game. Remember, the Big 12 does not have divisions. Everybody plays each other, but the top 2 teams meet up next week in the conference championship game. First game is Texas Tech travels to Baylor, and the aforementioned Bedlam game, number 10 Oklahoma travels to number 7 Oklahoma State. Right now, Baylor needs a little bit of help. Baylor has the head-to-head against Oklahoma, but Baylor is sitting there with 2 losses in conference to Oklahoma's 1. Oklahoma State defeated Baylor head-to-head. So right now, Oklahoma State looks like they're in the best position. But if Oklahoma can knock off the Cowboys, then Baylor at that point is eliminated. If Oklahoma State takes care of Oklahoma and Baylor wins, they advance to the Big 12 title game. Big time stakes, not just for the conference, but also in the playoffs. Because I've been saying this for a couple weeks. Things could also play out for either one of these teams. If Oklahoma State wins the next 2 games, they defeat their arch rival, then beat Baylor, and some teams ahead of them lose, get knocked off in conference championship play, or even this week, Oklahoma State could find themselves in the playoffs, or even Oklahoma can. If Oklahoma wins their next 2 games, which would be both against Oklahoma State, and some chaos happens ahead of them in the rankings, they could easily find themselves a playoff participant as well. So huge games there in the Big 12 conference going on this weekend. Now the last one, and some tidbits about this. I mean, when I look at the Bedlam game, it really has been one-sided. Mike Gundy has been the coach at Oklahoma State for 16 years. But in that time, he is 2-14 against Oklahoma straight up. Woo! That is tough to swallow for Mike Gundy, and if you are a Mike Gundy supporter. Now, my spotlight game of the week, all eyes will turn to the Big Ten, but more specifically, the Big Ten East. We have this year's edition of The Game between Michigan and that team to the south, or if you look at it, Michigan or Ohio State and that team to the south. Big time winner take all here. Both of these teams are ranked in the top 5 of the current playoff rankings. The winner, they wins the Big Ten East and then punches their ticket to the Big Ten title game in Indianapolis. But also, the winner of this game will absolutely have an inside track on securing a playoff bid. So, and it's great to see this game matter once again. Even, let me give you some numbers on how one-sided this game has been. We all know as college football fans, the rise of Ohio State recently. They have absolutely propelled themselves to the next level, but they have absolutely, more impressively, even stayed at that level. So we know that. But when you really dive deeper into this rivalry, and I do air quotes here, rivalry during this century, you might be surprised how just one-sided it's been. So let's look at this. Since in this century, Ohio State is 17-3 versus Michigan. The last time Michigan beat Ohio State in this rivalry game was 2011. So it's not much of a rivalry. And I think a lot of even Michigan fans would say this is no longer a rivalry game. It still is big time impact from the standpoint of the tradition, the camaraderie of it, the pageantry of this game, the celebration. But is it really still a rivalry? It's hard to say yes because of how one-sided it has been. I mean, just another little fun tidbit. This century, since 2000, Purdue has more wins over Ohio State than Michigan does. Purdue has beaten Ohio State 4 times, but yet they don't play them every year like Michigan does. It has been absolutely a joke recently. And so I think maybe some Michigan fans or even Ohio State fans can say, well, we basically have an 11-game schedule because that last game of the year, we know how it's going to play out. There hasn't been any real sense of motivation or pride in this game. It really has been lacking for far too long, but not this year. It is great to see this game matter once again in the Big Ten. I mean, growing up, my younger days, late 80s, early 90s, when I absolutely fell in love with this game, when I understood it, when I was hooked, hook, line, and sinker, this game mattered every year. This was the game you had to watch because you never knew who was going to win. So, I mean, just seeing it come to this one-sided dominance that Ohio State has, it's really unbelievable. But we'll see. We'll see if Michigan can exercise some recent demons and pull off a victory at home over their arch rival, Ohio State. So tune in for that. I'll definitely give you some more analysis on that game later here in the Pick'em segment. Next thing I want to go into, I'm going to give you a little bit of analysis, initial insight, thoughts on the keys to victory and how I see the games going down on Black Friday for our beloved black and golds. Let me get a quick swig of water here. So, let me go ahead. It's great to see both of our black and golds coming off a win over the weekend. Big time, Missouri got that big time, overtime, walk-off win, 2-point conversion, converted over Florida, and Iowa taking care of Illinois at home for Senior Day. But both of our squads take it on the road on Black Friday. Let's start off this week with Missouri. Currently, Missouri sits at 6-5. They will have the 13th game. They travel to Arkansas. They play for the Battle Line Trophy. Last year, Missouri brought it home on one of the more entertaining games last year of the entire college football season. Can they make it 2 in a row over their rival from the South? We'll have to wait and see. I think Missouri definitely had their big moment last week. They face a very tough, very physical Arkansas squad, but Arkansas, I think, is a little bit beat up. They're sitting there now with 4 losses, coming off a very, very gallant, big-time effort last week. They were at Alabama and lost by a touchdown, so they kept it close. Definitely were very competitive. How much do they have left in the tank? But the thing is, Arkansas, if you've watched them, what they like to do is pound the ball, and pound it some more. And that has really been Missouri's Achilles heel, their kryptonite all season, their rush defense. But the last 2 games, they really have turned the corner. They held Florida to under 100 yards rushing last week. And 2 weeks ago, they held South Carolina to under 60 yards of rushing. So maybe the Missouri rush defense has ratcheted up. Maybe they've turned the corner, playing more disciplined ball, tackling better. But this will be a huge test. And right now, win or lose, Missouri has had a good season. Not a great season, not an excellent season, but the season that I believe they would have. They're right smack dab in the middle of a rebuild. This is Coach Drinkowitz's second year, but kind of unofficially, probably his first real year. Last year, his first year, the COVID year, couldn't have any camps. any early practices, fall camp, summer camp, none of that. So this really is his first season. And to wind up 6-6, but potentially 7-5 if they pull the upset over Arkansas, it'll be a good season. A season to hang your hat on for Missouri. The fans may not see it that way, but if you look deeper at what's going on there in Columbia, 7-5 or 6-6 is not a bad season. It is a step in the right direction. Whether you want to admit that or not, it is. But I think Missouri will have every shot. Just ratchet up the rush defense. Don't do Arkansas any favors. Don't turn it over. Connor Bazelak, I don't know if he's going to be 100% or not by Friday. We might see a potential quarterback change. You have to protect him if he is like he was last week with cement shoes. Could spell trouble. He's not looking very mobile, but he did take care of the ball last week. Take care of the ball. Don't do them any favors. And Tyler Beatty, this week, he is a Doak Walker finalist for the best running back in the nation, which he should be. You look at his numbers. The guy is legit. He is a workhorse. He is their do-everything guy on offense. You have to keep him involved in this game. I mean, if he can rush for 150 or more yards, a couple touchdowns, they're going to have every chance to knock off the Razorbacks. But also the Razorbacks, they have a foe on their side who is very familiar with Missouri. Remember, former head coach Barry Odom is the DC at Arkansas. So you know he's going to have his defense fired up for this game, because definitely when he was let go, I definitely think he left a little bit of a sour taste in his mouth. So we'll see how this game plays out. It's a late kickoff, late afternoon. Can't wait to watch it. Go Mizzou. Let's see how it does. And tune in next week. Monday I'll have my Week 13 review show, and I'll give you some reaction to how this game played out. Next game is number 16 Iowa travels to Nebraska. Currently, Iowa sits there at 9-2, having an excellent season, and they play Nebraska for the Heroes Trophy, also on Black Friday, or early kickoff, I believe 12:30 Central Time. This is going to be a tough game for Iowa. I mean, I picked them to go 8-4, was my projected record for them, but the projected ceiling I had for them was 10-2. So either way, I did pretty good for myself. If they win this game and get to double-digit wins, that would be an excellent season for Iowa. 10 wins is good for anybody, for any team, any year. So I'm not going to be disappointed if they end up losing this game. If they lose, they get to 9-3. But as a fan, like all fans, we all want more. We always want more. So then it could be, I will be asking myself the season that could have been, when after all, at one point in the season, our Hawkeyes were ranked number 2 in the nation, but those back-to-back losses at home to Purdue and at Wisconsin really was too much for them to climb out of. That hole was too deep. And now when you look at that, those aren't bad losses at all. Wisconsin is one of, if not the best defense behind Georgia in the nation, playing at a very high level after their early season issues. And Purdue, we saw what they did. They took care of Michigan State handedly and Iowa early this season. So they had victories over 2 top 5 programs this year. And they kept it respectful at Ohio State, too, a few weeks back. So, but right now, Iowa has won 6 in a row against their rival to the west, their Nebraska. Can they make it 7 in a row? I shared with you yesterday the breaking news on the injury front that Adrian Martinez, the do-everything quarterback for Nebraska, will not play. He won't even dress. He is out for the rest of the season. And not only is he their quarterback, which anybody who knows football knows, that is the most important position on the field, but he is their best player on offense with his arm, with his legs. So this absolutely gives Iowa a better chance to go to Lincoln and pull off the victory. But it sounds so simple, but remember, Alex Padilla, this will be his third career start. This will be his first start in what you could consider a hostile environment. He came in at the end of the first quarter when he saw his first real reps at Northwestern, which Northwestern, you don't really have much of a home field advantage at Ryan Field. Half of the crowd will always be the opponent's fans anyway there in Chicago. So this will be a big test for Alex Padilla. Their offense has been challenged most of the year. You go to a Nebraska team that does have a very salty defense. They're playing at a very high level with another sellout crowd there in Lincoln, even though they are in the midst of another awful season. They're sitting there 3-8, but they'll be giving it everything they can for their Huskers to knock off their border rival in Iowa. And moving forward, if Alex Padilla is the Iowa quarterback of the future, which I think he will be, this actually is something you have to do. You have to start him in this kind of an environment, in this big moment, to see how he does for next year. And the more experience you get as a young quarterback in that situation, it bodes well for your team later. So Iowa, big time challenge. They have to do what they do, control the lines of scrimmage, run the ball. Don't let the Nebraska offense rush, make them beat you through the air. Take care of the football, force a couple turnovers like you've been doing consistently throughout this year on the defensive side, and lay off, avoid any of the special teams disasters and gaffes. Make your field goals, make your extra points, field your punts. Charlie Jones, I'm looking at you. Maybe have a couple good returns. And Torrey Taylor, which I still believe might be Iowa's MVP this season. If you can still come in there, pin them deep inside their own 20, if you can average 45 yards like you basically have per punt, that's going to be the key to victory. But we'll see. We'll see if Iowa can bring it all together. And like I said with the Missouri game, tune in next week on Monday for the Week 13 review show, and I'll give you my reaction to how this game played out as well. So good luck, Missouri. Good luck, Iowa. You make us proud. We'll be watching. All right. So now we come to everyone's favorite segment, the Pick'em segment. It is Pick'em time. And like I said, right now, Charlie and I are engaged in a tough battle. Right now, the standings, my former co-host sits there at 118-62. I trail him 111-69. I'm 7 games back. I still got a few weeks with this week, conference championship week, and bowl season to make it up. But I've got my work cut out for me. And as I stated, this is the finals, the inaugural Touchdown Black and Gold Vlog Guest Picker Tournament. It comes down to the B versus B show, Brett versus Brad. And I want to take some time to thank all of the guest pickers who made this possible this season. To Brett, to Brad, Logan, Caleb, my brother Anthony, and of course, last but not least, my kids, to Connor and Eliana. It was a lot of fun, and I look forward to doing this next year as well. So each and every week, if this is your first time joining me for the preview shows, I select 15 games. And the nice thing about this week is every one of these games will matter towards division or conference titles. So this is excellent. This is going to be an awesome, awesome week for picks. I pick 15 games that myself and Charlie and our guest pickers will pick straight up. We don't play the line. We just play straight up. We don't play the spread. And each and every week, it'll be every time Iowa and Missouri plays, they'll be included. I always include the Academy game of the week featuring a team, either Army, Navy, or Air Force. I always have the non-Power 5 Spotlight game of the week. Big-time matchups at the non-Power 5 level. And I always have the FCS Spotlight game of the week. Great football that's played at the lower division of level of Division 1. And the Spotlight game, which this week I've already shared with you. is Ohio State at Michigan. So without further ado, let me get myself set up here. Let's get it on, and let's see who comes out on top and claims the championship for the best guest picker for Touchdown Black and Gold Vlog. All right. So the first game on the docket out of the gate is Western Kentucky at Marshall. The battle for the Conference USA West Division. Bailey Zappi versus the Thundering Herd. Big time stakes game here. Let's see how we see this game playing out. Brett, who always gives me a little bit of insight, he says Western Kentucky wins what could be a shootout. He's going with the Hilltoppers. Brad, he's going with Marshall. I love that. Good pick. Charlie is taking Western Kentucky. Me, I'm on the Bailey Zappi train. I'm also going with the Hilltoppers. Now, next game. Big time, the Iron Bowl. Down there on the plains, number 3 Alabama travels to Auburn in their yearly rivalry game at Jordan-Hare Stadium. Alabama is highly favored, highly ranked, but we've seen strange things happen in Jordan-Hare, especially in this rivalry. Nothing more fantastic and unbelievable as the kick six. So I know right there when I say that, Auburn fans rise to their feet and cheer, while Alabama fans puke in their mouths. So maybe there's some more magic left at Jordan-Hare for this year's edition of the Iron Bowl. Let's see what we think. Brett says, a bad Auburn team looks bad in this one. Bama wins going away. He's going with the Tide. Brad, he is actually going with Auburn at home. I love the pick. Well done. Good pick. Charlie, he's going with Alabama. Me, I would absolutely love to see a little bit more Jordan-Hare magic. I'm not an Alabama hater, but I know how much that would mean to Auburn, who sits there at 6-5 is their record. Definitely has not been a year of celebration. And Brian Harsin absolutely needs this win. He could use this win his first year at the helm of Auburn. But that being said, I'm going with Alabama. Sorry. Next game up is the Egg Bowl, which happens on Thanksgiving night. Number 9 Ole Miss travels to Mississippi State. I love this matchup. Both of these teams are very good, led by 2 big-time personalities in their head coaches, Lane Kiffin and Mike Leach. Both very similar, but very different as well. And the big question on most everybody's mind is, will this be Lane Kiffin's last game on the sidelines as the Ole Miss head coach? He is linked to basically every big-time coaching vacancy available right now, which we have a ton of them. So, and I love seeing this game mean something. This is a big game. Mississippi is a big-time recruiting state. I love to see the Egg Bowl matter for bragging rights in the Magnolia State. Let's see how this one's played out and picked by our contestants. Brett says, Ole Miss wins a shootout on the road. He's going with the Rebels. Brad, he also likes the Ole Miss Rebels. Charlie, he's going with Kiffin's and his boys and Matt Corral with Ole Miss. Me, I like Will Rogers. I'm taking Mississippi State at home. I think this is going to be a shootout. But I think Ole Miss and Matt Corral, more specifically, is a little bit banged up. I think he might potentially run out of gas. He's been asked to do so much this year. I think Ole Miss comes up a little bit short. I like the Bulldogs to pull the upset at home. Next game, the battle for the Apple Cup. We have Washington State at Washington. This is a big-time game there in the Evergreen State for bragging rights. Washington State is sitting there. They're bowl eligible. Washington, it has really been a season to forget. Most recently, Jimmy Lake, their head coach, dismissed as head coach. So let's see how this one plays out there in the Apple Cup. What do we think about this rivalry game? Brett says Washington State takes care of the ball better and wins the game on the road. He's going with the Cougars. Brad, he's going with the Cougars as well. Charlie also likes Wazoo State. I've watched both of these teams. Washington, even though it's at home in Seattle, those fans are always off the hook, always loud. But I think this team just has too much turmoil going on. I'm also taking the Cougars. We all like Washington State. Next game is the battle for Paul Bunyan's axe. That's right. Wisconsin travels to number 14. Wisconsin travels to Minnesota. Big game in the Big Ten West. I don't think I mentioned this yet. My apologies, but big time games for Wisconsin and Iowa. Iowa still has a shot to punch their ticket to Indianapolis. They must beat Nebraska, and they must have Minnesota upset Wisconsin. If that happens, Iowa then will advance to the Big Ten title game and then face the daunting task of taking on either Ohio State or Michigan. But hey, as Lloyd Christmas would say, so you're saying we got a chance. And we do. But it matters not if Wisconsin wins or if Iowa loses on Black Friday. So let's see how we see this game playing out between the Badgers and the Golden Gophers in their annual rivalry game. Brett says, I thought Wisconsin would roll into the Big Ten title game, but last week has given me pause. They definitely struggled at Lincoln last week, or actually it was at home. That game was in Madison and Madtown. Wisconsin defeated Nebraska by a touchdown, so that's what Brett's referring to. With that said, I'm taking Wisconsin. Brett's going with the Badgers. Brad also going with Wisconsin. Charlie also taking the Badgers. Me, I will be rooting for Goldie and the bald beauty PJ Fleck like no one's business, especially if Iowa wins on Black Friday. I will be watching this game, hands on my behind, nervous as all can be. I'll be chomping away at my nails if I even have any nails left. I will be rooting for them. Minnesota, can they win? I think they can. But will they? I don't think they will. That being said, I'm taking Wisconsin to maintain control of Paul Bunyan's axe and break the hearts of us Iowa Hawkeye fans. So I'm going with Wisconsin as well. Next game, the civil conflict game, the battle for bragging rights in the Beaver State. We have Oregon State travels to number 11 Oregon. Let's see how we see this game playing out. Will Oregon pick themselves off the mat? Big time pride game, prove it game. They win. They still get to the Pac-12 title game for a rematch at Utah, who absolutely embarrassed them last week. So it'll be a good chance for a little bit of vengeance or a revenge game there. But first things first, take care of the Beavers, who did beat you last year. Will we have that kind of a surprise in Eugene? Let's find out right now. Our pickers. Brett says, I hated the way last week went down, but I'll take Oregon to bounce back at home. He's going with the Ducks. Brad, he also is going with Oregon at home. Charlie's also taking the Ducks. This is a tough game for me. This is one that I was really conflicted on. I think Oregon State is a very physical team. That has been the blueprint, the way how to beat Oregon. Just ask Stanford that. Ask Utah that last week. Run the ball, control the lines of scrimmage, and the Oregon State head coach is an Oregon State alum, so it means huge things to him. Will he get his team fired up? Will they pull the upset? I'm picking no. I'm also going with Oregon. But we'll see if I'm wrong. Next game is number 18, Wake Forest at Boston College. Big tilt in the ACC Atlantic. After last week's loss to Clemson, Wake needs to win this game to clinch the ACC Atlantic. Winner take all game for Wake. BC has played a little bit better lately, but definitely coming off a pretty surprising, shocking loss against Florida State last weekend. That did not help them, but their quarterback, a guy that I was high on in the preseason, Phil Jurkovic, has returned from injury kind of early. He went down in week 3. He's been back now for a few games. They have a couple victories since he's been back. So this is a much better Boston College team with him under center. Let's see if we believe Wake Forest will win and clinch and advance to the ACC title game to take on Pitt. Let's find out. Brett says, not confident at all in this one. The deciding factor to me is BC's loss last week to a bad Florida State team. Give me Wake. He's going with the Demon Deacons. Brad, he's going with BC at home. I love it. Coach Hafley is an excellent coach. He'll be one of those big-time candidates looking to be hired at a new position. Former Ohio State D coordinator, has that toughness about him. Charlie, he's going with Wake Forest. Me, I'm all about Boston College, but I think it's just a little too much, a little too late. I like Wake Forest on the road as well. Next game up is big one in the Mountain West Division. We have Boise State at number 21, San Diego State. Big time winner-take-all potential for both teams who are in separate divisions. I went through that earlier this episode. Let's see how we see it playing out. Brett says, I am not liking how San Diego State has played lately. Boise State wins their 5th in a row. He's taken the Broncos. Brad, he's also taken Boise State. Charlie, he's taken the Aztecs of San Diego State at home. Me, I love this Boise State team. They were a little bit slow out of the gate early this season. Have an excellent quarterback. And I'm going with the Broncos also to win their 5th in a row, giving them a shot to win their division and also giving Fresno State a shot to win their division. So we'll see what plays out in that game. Next game up, big one, the Bedlam game, bragging rights in the Sooner State. You know what I'm talking about. Number 10, Oklahoma at number 7, Oklahoma State. Both teams need a victory to stay in the playoff hunt. Oklahoma needs a victory just to get to the Big 12 title game. Let's see what we think about this one. Brett says Oklahoma State has a really good defense, which, side note, they do. I think most of you know that. But what you didn't know is in the month of November, they have yet to give up an offensive touchdown on defense. That is amazing. The best defense no one talks about. So I agree with Brett's his take on this. Oklahoma State has a really good defense. While Oklahoma thinks defense is optional, he's taken Oklahoma State at home over their rivals. Brad, he's taken Oklahoma. He likes the Sooners on the road. Charlie, he's also taken Oklahoma. Me, this is such a big-time winner-take-all game. Big-time position for the freshman Caleb Williams, the Oklahoma quarterback, who's played exceptionally well. But I like defense at home. I like the Cowboys to go against, to defy history, which you all know I'm a big student and fan of history. I know he's 2-14 against Oklahoma, but I think Coach Gundy makes it 3-14. I like Oklahoma State to win this game. Now we move on to our spotlight games of the week. First up is our black and gold games. Let's start with Missouri at number 25, Arkansas. Let's see how this game plays out. Brett says, was Florida trying to get their coach fired last week? Arkansas rushes for 275 yards and wins. Brett's taking the Razorbacks. Brad, he's going with Missouri to win their 3rd in a row. Love that pick. Charlie, he's going with the Hogs at home. He's going with Arkansas. Me, I think Missouri will absolutely give them all they can handle and more. But I just think Arkansas guts it out on the road. Physicality, that Barry Odom defense and rushing the ball. I think Arkansas wins in a 3-4 point game. I like the Hogs at home as well. Next is number 16, Iowa. Travels to Lincoln for the Heroes Trophy. Big time game for the Hawkeyes. Win, and you have a shot to still advance to Indianapolis for the Big Ten title. Already shared that scenario with you. They need to win, have Wisconsin lose. Adrian Martinez is out. That favors Iowa. It's a tough environment, hostile environment for the young quarterback of Iowa, Alex Padilla, and also a tough spot for a struggling offense. Who comes out on top? Let's see. Brett says, Iowa to close out Nebraska's season to forget. And the way the season began, Iowa wins in a one-score game. And that's been the kind of the reoccurring theme, a very long list of moral victories for Scott Frost at Nebraska. They are now 5-18 in one-possession games following last weekend's one-possession loss to Wisconsin. 5-18, and to begin the season, they lost by 8 points at Illinois. And it's tough. I'm still very disgusted by what's happened there with Scott Frost. Basically saving his own neck, taking a shave and a haircut on salary to save his job, get himself another year or two, but in the process fires 4 of his offensive coaches in the season to save his own hide. I think it's an awful move. It's a PR move. Optically, it stinks. He should be absolutely ashamed and embarrassed. And you Nebraska fans should want more. I actually kind of feel sorry for you. Actually, no, I don't. Because I believe maybe you're a match made in heaven. Scott Frost, the native son, favorite son, the sense of entitlement that Scott Frost seems to think he has. And you Nebraska fans, I think enough is enough. You need to oust him, get him out. So Brett, he likes Iowa. Brad, he likes the Hawkeyes as well. Charlie, he's also going with Iowa. Those 3 like Iowa to win, make it 7 in a row over the Huskers. Early season, preseason picks, I picked Nebraska to upset Iowa in this game. I think Iowa has a better shot to pull off the victory with Adrian being out. But unfortunately, I think the magic runs out. That's right, Hawkeye Nation, black and gold family, Nebraska fans, everything I said just about it, the negativity. Here I come in front of you and say, I like Nebraska to win this game. I just think the intangibles, things finally go their way. Nebraska definitely has played better than what their record shows this year. I like them to defeat our Hawkeyes on Black Friday, which would be tough because knowing my luck, then Minnesota would probably beat Wisconsin. Next game, UNLV travels to Air Force, the Academy game of the week. Air Force, if they win, they're still alive in the Mountain West Mountain Division. Let's see how our pickers see this one coming out. Brett says Air Force rushes for 400 yards and wins. He likes the Falcons. Brad, he's also going with Air Force. Charlie, he's taking the Flyboys as well. Me, I love that. Air Force, I think, gets it done. They make a statement, but then they have to wait. We all like the Flyboys of Air Force to get it done. Next game, big time showdown, winner take all in the MAC East, my non-Power 5 spotlight game of the week. Miami of Ohio travels to Kent State. Kent State, I've watched this game. They played Iowa. I know a lot about them. And I have watched a couple of Miami of Ohio games, the Red Hawks. Let's see what y'all think. Brett says, Kent State can score and run the ball with the best of them, which they can. 2 things that Kent State does really well, space and pace. I mean, they absolutely are go, 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 nonstop. But I think they just gave up another touchdown, says Brett. He's taken Miami of Ohio. He likes the Red Hawks. Brad, he's also going with Miami of Ohio. Charlie, he's taken the Red Hawks as well. Me, I like what I saw from Kent State. Offensively, they are a juggernaut. They can outscore Miami of Ohio. I'm taking the Golden Flashes of Kent State to win the game and win the MAC East Division. Next game, this year's edition of the Bayou Classic, my FCS Spotlight game, Grambling versus Southern in the Dome in New Orleans. basically known as the Battle of the Bands. Big time winner take all bragging rights game on the line between these two universities. Let's see how we see this game playing out. Bands, Brett says, the band, and Southern. He's taking Southern to win. Brad, he's taking Southern as well. Charlie is also going with the Jaguars. I believe they're the Jaguars of Southern. Me, I really want to take Grambling, but I got to go with Southern. We all like the Jaguars to win. And now we've come to the spotlight game of the week, the clash in Ann Arbor, the game. It continues. It means something. Winner take all. Big Ten East potential. Playoff potential implications. Everything on the line. Can the Khakis rise up and knock Ohio State from their perch, their dominance? Or will we remain status quo in the Big Ten East and in the Big Ten in general? Will Ohio State continue to roll? Let's find out. Brett says Ohio State continues their domination of the Big Ten and the Khakis. He's taking Ohio State. Brad, he's going with Ohio State as well in this game. Charlie, he's going with the Bucknuts. He's on the Ohio State train as well. Me, I think this will be a very close game. I don't expect Ohio State to put up a 60 or a 50 burger like they have in recent past. I believe it will be competitive, but I think when push comes to shove, Ohio State continues to do what they do. They win the East, move on to the Big Ten title game with a playoff berth squarely in their sights, in their grasp. So I'm going with Ohio State as well. And that is it. That's today's episode. Once again, I always ask for any subscriptions, likes, shares, comments. Let me know. Thank you very much for your time, your attention, your support. It's been a long week. If you've missed it, Monday I had my Week 12 review show. Yesterday's Power Rankings midweek show is up. Next week, I'll be back on Monday for my Week 13 review show. It's kind of start looking ahead to Conference Championship Week a little bit. Until then, enjoy your Turkey Day. If you're traveling, safe travels. Enjoy your time with your families, your friends, your turkeys, or if you are a fan of the divine swine, your hams. Enjoy the football. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you on Monday. Enjoy the rest of your week and your Thanksgiving. And thank you for being with me on this episode of the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog. And I'll see you next week. Take care.